Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Mount & Blade Bannerlord, specifically the Realm of Thrones Total Conversion mod, which brings the whole game into the world of A Song of Ice and Fire and A Game of Thrones from, the TV adaptation on HBO. But anyway, we're going to be continuing on our series, taking a look at the armor in this mod. In the first video, we took a look at what I consider to be the mod's weakest faction, at least in terms of quality and work put in, and that was the Veil. Today we're going to move into one that I would have previously probably said was the weakest faction for armor, but actually is really good now after the most recent update. So that is the Stormlands, the section typically controlled by the Baratheons in the storyline. At the time of Game of Thrones, where that takes place, the part that is commanded by Renly Baratheon, Robert's younger brother, from Storm's End, its seat. So this faction previously in this mod had some of the weakest armor, very little variety, uninspired, most of it looked very bland and mediocre, but after the most recent update, they added a lot of really cool armor items. Some of them are now new favorites of mine. So it looks fantastic, the troops are looking great, decked out in their much better armor, and the variety is one of the best considering it's a pretty small faction. They don't start out with all that much power or territory or anything, but the variety that they now have in this mod is pretty phenomenal. So we'll start off with a quick glance, and I will try to be quicker than I was with the Veil, going through the troop trees so I can just show you some of the stuff that you'll see on the battlefield in this faction in their armor, and then we'll go through a more detailed look on my character to show off the armor sets that this faction has. So let's just start with the troops. So there are 4 troop trees in the Stormlands faction, and 3 of them are house specific and very cool. But we'll start off with just the basic Stormlands one first. So starting with the Stormlands recruit, you can see we have a very basic recruit for the levy, which just has the tied cloth tunic. So looks basic, but at least it's yellow, which matches the Stormlands theme. Then we'll move down the right tree first. The Stormlands bowman, again, very vanilla, very basic, nothing very cool there. Moving up a level, we then get a Stormlands helmet, which is unique to the mod, and the Stormlands gambeson, but still looks pretty basic. The next level starts getting us a little bit more, mod immersion look to it. So this one has the Stormlands helmet, the Stormlands armor, the leather gloves, and the folded leather boots. I think it looks pretty good overall. There is a crossbowman counterpart, which has basically the same stuff, but instead of a bow, it has a crossbow. Then we have the Master Archer, which adds the Stormlands gorget into the mix, which matches the helmet and looks very good. And then on the other side, it's the same thing, but once again, just with a crossbow instead of a bow. So, troop-wise, the Stormlands has a pretty robust troop tree and gives you lots of options, which I like it for. Armor-wise, like I said, with the basic Stormlands recruit troop tree, nothing too crazy. So that was the archer side. As far as the infantry side, we have the Stormlands levy, which just has the Stormlands gambeson and is real basic. Moving up to the man-at-arms, we have the Stormlands helmet and the Stormlands armor. So you can see it's basically a step ahead of the archer troop tree as far as the heaviness of the armor. Then we have the Stormlands maceman, which has the helmet, the gorget, and the armor. The spearman, which is the same thing, but instead of being equipped with a mace and some throwing javelins, we have a spear, sword, and shield. Then we have the elite maceman, which gives us the Stormlands shoulders. So it's the same gorget that matches the helmet, but now we also have shoulder armor. And then the same stuff as before, the Stormlands armor and the Stormlands helmet. And then we have a cavalry unit, which is fairly basic, but it looks kind of the same as the spearman did, just on a horse this time. And then we have the Stormlands House Guard, which is their heavy infantry. This one is basically just the upgraded version of the spearman. So same as the elite maceman, the one change we have is instead of just having the gorget, we also have shoulders. So that is the whole Stormlands recruit troop tree, which is the most basic of all of the troop trees in the Stormlands, but I think is better than the Veil. So like I said, this one used to be the one of, if not the weakest factions in the mod, but now it's actually quite good. Next, we have the Tarth troop tree. So this comes from the island of Tarth, which is where Brienne is from in the story. This one is pretty dang good. They're all very unique. It uses a lot of unique assets, very little vanilla stuff. It all coordinates really well, looks great in the mod, and all of the assets look good. So I have very little complaints about this troop tree. Starting with the Tarth militia, we have the Tarth coif, the Tarth militia armor, and the folded leather boots. Then the Tarth man-at-arms adds the Tarth light helmet, which is the same as the coif, but it just adds that helmet over top, but the other stuff is the same. Then we have a crossbowman option. So we have the Tarth crossbowman, which has the light helmet and the militia armor again, and is equipped with a crossbow. The elite crossbowman adds in the Tarth bracers with gloves. So we have bracers that match the helmet. Then for our cavalry ones, we have the Tarth rider, which is, basically the same as the man-at-arms. We've got that Tarth light helmet and the Tarth militia armor. Our Tarth horseman, which is their heavy cavalry unit has the unique Tarth armor, which is a brigandine type for the torso. Then we also have the Tarth shoulders, which give us a little bit more robust shoulder covering. Our Tarth helmet, so instead of the light helmet, we have the full helmet, which gives us these cheek guards. And the Tarth bracers with gloves again. So a very comprehensive suit of, I would say, medium cavalry armor. But then moving down their infantry tree, which is where we get to the elite Tarth troop, we have the Tarth soldier, equipped with the Tarth helmet 2, Tarth shoulders, Tarth armor, and the umber boots. The Tarth halberdier, which is a obviously troop equipped with a halberd. And we have the Tarth helmet 2, Tarth shoulders, Tarth armor, Tarth bracers with gloves, and umber boots. And then our elite Tarth troop is the Tarth master halberdier. This one is equipped with the Tarth helmet 2, Tarth shoulders, Tarth armor, Tarth bracers with gloves, and umber boots. So, like I said, very few complaints. I love the way this troop tree looks. I think it's very unique. I think all of the armor items look good, both from a immersion perspective, as in they fit in the mod, and also from an aesthetic perspective. They don't clip. They all look good. So, I like this troop tree. It's significantly better than the stock one for the Stormlands. Just a quick glance at the Stormlands noble troop tree. This one is basically the same as the normal Stormlands troop tree, so I'm not going to spend much time on it, but I'll just show you each one. There's the noble son, there's the squire, there's the Stormlands knight, the Stormlands fell knight, and the Stormlands thunder knight. So like I said, item-wise, basically identical to the regular Stormlands troop tree. Next, we have an exciting one that was added with the most recent update to the mod, and that is the Dondarrion troop tree. So these would belong to Beric Dondarrion or his family. So again, much like the Tarth one, I really like this one. They're unique. It uses mostly unique assets, so very few vanilla assets used in this troop tree, and they just look really good and really unique. So we have the Dondarrion levy, which has the Tarth coif and the North Gambesson. So, doesn't fit within the Stormlands region, but it is unique. Then we have the Dondarrion Footman, which adds in the new Dondarrion ringed leather armor, and the Dondarrion coif. So, very cool for a light man-at-arms. I love it. Then we have the Dondarrion Bowman, which adds in the Dondarrion Archer's helmet. The Dondarrion Veteran Bowman, which has the Dondarrion Archer's helmet, the Dondarrion ringed leather, and the Dondarrion gloves, as well as the Dondarrion boots. So, full set. None of this is vanilla, and it all looks really good. Then we have their infantry tree, which has the Dondarrion man-at-arms, which is made up of the Dondarrion helmet, Dondarrion ringed leather, and Dondarrion boots. Then their heavy infantry, which is their Dondarrion house guard, which I think looks fantastic. I love the uniqueness of this suit of armor, and it's all unique stuff. So Dondarrion helmet, Dondarrion pauldrons, Dondarrion plate, Dondarrion plated gloves, and Dondarrion plated boots. Wow, I feel like I've said the word Dondarrion too many times. Then we have their cavalry tree. So it's made up of the Dondarrion horseman, the Dondarrion knight, and finally their heavy troop, which looks awesome, the Dondarrion bolt knight. So their sigil is a lightning bolt, and that's why they're called a bolt knight. I love this one. It's got the surcoat over the cuirass. It's very comprehensive plate armor, a big plumed helmet, all of it matching color-wise. Oh, chef's kiss. It looks so good. I love that unit. So that is our top tier Dondarrion unit, and we have one more troop tree for the Stormlands to take a look at. And this one is the, of course, Baratheon troop tree. So this one goes to the ruling house of the region, the Baratheons. And again, this one looks a lot better than the basic Stormlands one. I love the way it looks. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. We'll just go through each unit and I'll show them to you, and then we can get to the good part, which is where I show you the full suits of armor for this region. So we have the Baratheon footman, the Baratheon soldier, the Baratheon hammerman. So we've got these awesome bronze cuirass that was added in with this most recent update. The Baratheon house guard, which is just a more comprehensive version of the previous one. I love how it's got the little stagged or horned stag up on the helmet. Love that. Then the Baratheon hammer knight, which that just screams Robert Baratheon. Then there's some cavalry variants, the Baratheon horseman and the Baratheon knight. And then we've got their bowmen, the Baratheon bowman, Baratheon archer, and Baratheon longbowman. So once again, pretty dang good looking. I like these a lot. I think that there's a great amount of variety amongst them. They don't all just look exactly the same, but they have a different weapon equipped, and it all looks great for the location and theme of the mod. So gotta love it. And that is all of the troops in the Stormlands region in this mod, at least currently. So now let's take a look at some of these full suits of armor, or at least as I've been able to make them. And so keep in mind, limitation-wise, I'm only using stuff that belongs in the Stormlands. So it's either going to be named Stormlands armor, Baratheon armor, Tarth armor, or Dondarrion armor. It's going to fit in that region based on the naming conventions. And so if I'm missing a pair of gloves for a specific suit, I'll just sub in one of the other ones that looks as good as possible. So let's go through these suits of armor. All right, starting off, we have our basic Stormlands infantry unit, or at least as basic as I could find it to make it match with this. And so there we have the Stormlands helmet, Stormlands gorget, Stormlands gambesson, Baratheon plated gloves, and Baratheon boots. So this is a nice basic one. It all is built around the Stormlands gambeson, but keeping every armor slot filled and making sure it matches. So I think it looks decent. Obviously, your torso looks like it's lacking protection because it is. It just has a gambeson on it. But other than that, not a lot of complaints. Aesthetically, it all looks good together. And this is our Baratheon infantry unit for our light one. So it's the same basic stuff, all of the same items, except for the gambeson. Instead of being the Stormlands gambeson, we have the Baratheon gambeson. So we've then just got the crest added in. So looks basically the same, but if you were the ruling house, I assume you'd want to have your sigil somewhere on their armor. Next up, we have the Baratheon King. I know this isn't a suit of armor, but I still wanted to equip it. It's basically based off of what we see Robert wear in the first season of Game of Thrones. So this one's not perfect because we're missing some gloves and a cape, but I figured I'd include it anyway. So this one has the Renly crown, which, you know, it's not perfect because it's not Robert's crown, but it still works. The Baratheon King clothing and the Baratheon boots. So real basic outfit, but if you want to look like Robert, at least maybe even in your civilian outfit, then this is a good way to do that. Next, we have the fashion man himself, Renly. So this is just the full suit of Renly's armor. This one is made up of the Renly crown, Renly shoulders with cloak, Renly armor, Renly gloves, and Renly boots. And it looks very civilian, but the stats actually aren't horrible on it because all of these items have pretty decent armor protection. And of course it looks great because the suit of armor in the show looked great, and that's what this is based off of. Obviously the cloak is a little weird because it comes off the front and back, but it was draped that way very nonchalantly in the show. So pretty cool looking, I think, and very unique. Next, we have the Tarth light or medium infantry armor. This one's made up of the Tarth helmet 2, the Tarth shoulders, Tarth militia armor, Tarth bracers with gloves, and the Dundarian boots. So the Tarth armor does not have a set of Tarth boots, which again counts against them as a point. But other than that, this all looks pretty good. Obviously, all of our metal accents, our bracers, shoulders, and helmet all match together. Stylistically, it looks quite good. So I like this one. I think it looks pretty dang good. Next, we have our Dundarian light infantry, and this one has, I guess, an issue or two. So we don't have any light shoulder armor for the Dundarian stuff. The only one we have is for their heavy knight, and it looks hilariously bad on this one. Other than that, we have a little bit of clipping on the gloves, which I dislike. So this is made up of the Dundarian coif, Dundarian ringed leather, Dundarian gloves, and Dundarian boots. So it looks okay. I think the brown leather of the gloves and boots looks a little bit weird with the rest of it being all black, but it doesn't bother me a ton. I would have liked to have some sort of a hood or something for the shoulders, but as it is, I think it all looks pretty good together for a light infantry or light archer unit. So that's the variant 1 of this light armor for the Dundarian faction. Variant 2 just switches out the helmet, so you can see we have the Dundarian archer's helmet, so adds in a kettle hat, but everything else remains the same. Next, we have our first set of heavy Dundarian armor. This is the, I guess, Dundarian Armor 1, just because I don't have a more specific name than that for it. It's made up of the Dundarian helmet, Dundarian pauldrons, Dundarian plate, Dundarian plated gloves, and Dundarian plated boots. So it's a very simple, or not simple, but plain looking suit of plate armor. There's no crests or anything on it. It obviously has some gilding and some trim that looks rather fancy, and it sparkles when it twists. Obviously, it just looks really good. We have some fluting on the kettle helmet, and it matches all the other design elements that it's got. So it's just a very heavy suit of infantry or, I guess, mounted knight type armor. I like it. I don't have any complaints about it. It looks good. Model is all good. Shapes are right. Coloring, reflections, everything all matches together really well, and just aesthetically, it's very pleasing. So that's our Dundarian Plate Armor 1. And then our Dundarian Plate 2, or the Dundarian Knight, as it was called, the Bolt Knight, is the next one. Like I said, I really like this one because it's got, you can see it has a full plate cuirass, but they have that tabard over top, which looks so good. I love having that right on there. So this is made up of the Dundarian Elite Helmet, the Dundarian Pauldrons, Dundarian Plate with tabard, the Dundarian Plated Gloves, and the Dundarian Plate Boots. So it's the same basic outfit that I just showed you, but our helmet, instead of just being a kettle hat, this one also has a face shield on it, which looks a little weird having it just strapped on like that, but I like how unique it looks, even if it's a weird ahistorical design. I also like the big purple plume coming out of the top. So overall, very cool looking suit of armor, a little bit flamboyant, but I like it. It looks nice. So that's our Dundarian Plate Armor 2. Here we have our Baratheon infantry. So this one is more specific. This is a heavier type that we're looking at. It's made up of the Baratheon Helmet 3, Baratheon Shoulders, Stormlands Armor, Baratheon Plated Gloves, and Baratheon Boots. So the only one that we've seen before in here is, of course, the Stormlands Armor that was used previously in other, or I guess it wasn't, but it's Stormlands. It's not Baratheon themed. All the rest of it matches. So we've got that instead of being kind of more copperish like some of the Stormlands stuff is. The Baratheon stuff looks more brass, so it's got slightly more goldish look to it. I like this one. Like I said, it's basic, and back before this update, this was probably the best looking suit of armor the Stormlands region had. Now it's obviously not, but it still looks pretty good for all of that. So that is our Baratheon infantry. Next we have our Baratheon Antler Knight. So this one is probably the heaviest suit of the standard Baratheon / Stormlands armor that you can find in the Stormlands. This one's made up of the Baratheon Antler Helmet, the Baratheon Shoulders, Stormlands Plate, Baratheon plated gloves, and Baratheon boots. So a little bit lighter armor on the bottom, but nice and heavy up top, and it just looks meaty. So we've got, of course, our famous antlered helmet that Robert Baratheon was famous for wearing, and color-wise it matches all the way through. So the cuirass, the shoulders, the gorget, the gauntlets, and the helmet all have that same, like I said, brass-looking armor. Obviously, I'm assuming it's not brass. It's probably just, you know, some sort of plating or something on steel, but it looks really good. I quite like this one, and this is made up of some new items that were added in with this mod, so no complaints here. Once again, it just looks fantastic. If you want to play as a Baratheon Lord, I feel like this is a good suit of armor for that. Next, we've got one that I feel like needs a little bit of work yet, and maybe I'm just putting items together that aren't supposed to be together, but we have the Baratheon Royal Infantry or Knight, because it has the, you know, crowned stag on it. That makes me think it's supposed to be something a little bit more special. Basically, out of this one, the only item that I really like is the Baratheon Barbute, because Barbutes are like my favorite type of helmet. But this one's made up of the Baratheon Barbute, the Stormlands Shoulders 2, the Stormlands Mail, Baratheon Plated Gloves, Baratheon Boots. So, couple things here. Obviously, the gloves were not my first choice because they have that brass color, and the rest has a more standard steel look to it. But these are the only ones that went over top of this mail instead of weirdly clipping under it. I like the mail overall. Obviously, a colored tabard with the coat of arms of your lord on it over mail is a very standard man-at-arms type armor. And having the iron accents for the gorget, shoulders, and helmet, I think looks really good on it. But like I said, there's a little bit of clipping that I don't love. But overall, not too bad. I think this one looks all right. And lastly, we have our heavy Tarth armor. So this is our last variant of like a full suit of armor that you can find in the Stormlands items. So this one's made up of the Tarth helmet, the Tarth shoulders, Tarth armor, Tarth bracers with gloves, and the Dundarian boots, because once again, we don't have Tarth boots. And once again, like the other Tarth armor we've looked at, I like it. I think it looks good. I love how all the colors of the like the metal accents all match with each other and look very, very good. And I think all of that contrasts rather well against all of the blues that are present in this suit of armor. So quite good. One of my favorites out of all of them. Like I said, I quite like these suits of armor. I think the Stormlands in this most recent update went from being one of the weakest factions armor-wise to one of the strongest. I love the variety. I love the whole Dundarian troop tree, which comes from Blackhaven, just in case you're wondering. That's where the Dundarians are that's where their seat is. And for reference, I guess Storm's End is the Baratheons, Evenfall Hall is Tarth, and you know, the whole thing is the Stormlands. But as far as that goes, used to be one of the weakest, now it's one of the best. I love these suits of armor. Great work to the mod authors on this one. Looks fantastic. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like I've said in the previous video, I plan on doing a bunch of the factions, if not all of them. So if you like this one, stick around and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you like this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.